What's good, guys? It's Jason from No Cabal Pythons. This is the second video from our no ultrasound breeding series, and in this video we're looking at males. So let's get to it.
Here we go.
And we're back. First thing I want to do is categorize male breeders and put them into two categories. First category is those first year breeders, second year of the animal's life or second winter, first year you're pairing them, and your proven breeders, larger, older, established females. Established males. Now, first year males and people trying to breed those, I've tried, been very unsuccessful, so I no longer even try. And the first time I try to breed a male is that second winter. Okay, so we're going to start with proven breeder males. With my proven breeder males, throughout the year, I'll feed them every other week. And the purpose for that is I don't want my males overly large. I have found that large males are not the best breeders, tend to be lazy. Can't count on can't count on large males to come through for you in the season. Really large males to come through for you in the season. So I tend to feed every other week, and I may feed every week, depending on the size of the snake. And if the snake's looking kind of thin and needs an extra meal, I may feed during that off week. But in general, I tend to feed every other week. Okay, so here we have an Enchi banana male. I just weighed him and he's about 1,160 grams. And this is perfect size male that I want as a breeder. Good thickness. He's feeding weekly and feeding really, really well. Good thickness, good fat storage to him. You don't want him overly fat, but at the same time you don't want him overly thin, because a thin snake is not going to be able to produce viable, healthy sperm plugs. Or, as I shouldn't say, is not going to be able to, will be less likely. So you want your snake not overly thin, but you want your snake to have a good size to it. You also want to be conscious of his health, because the breeding season is stressful on the males and the females. So you want him to have decent size going into the season, because if he goes off feed, you want him to be able to be alright and come out of the breeding season healthy and happy. Alright, so here is a little bit older, a little bit larger of a snake. It's a diesel, possible super diesel male. He's weighing in at about 1,800 grams. And this is about the largest I would want a male. This guy is a beast. He eats like crazy, as you can see. But this is, I wouldn't want a breeder male any bigger than this. And this is definitely a definitely a male that I should be feeding every other week and not every week. He has great size, and don't need him any bigger than this. Alright, now here's a male that is on the other end of the spectrum. This is a Hidden Gene Woma yellow belly male, and he was a stud for me last season and did really well last season. Post-season, didn't do the best with food. He's gone back on food, and I think has had 2 or 3 consecutive meals. But as you see, if you would stay still,
Oops.
There we go. As you can see, he's much thinner than the other animals. So this is an animal that I would not, even though he was a breeder for me last year, I would not breed him, at least not yet. He needs to put on another at least 150 grams before I would consider breeding him. And guys, it doesn't make sense, even if it's a proven breeder, to breed these skinny males, because you gotta think, what kind of sperm plugs is a male like this going to produce, and how healthy and how viable of a clutch is he going to give you. And you also got to think about the animal's health coming out of the breeding season. So you do want your animals post breeding season to be healthy. So an animal like this, I would say, needs to put on a little bit more size, a little bit more weight before I start them in my breeding rotation. Okay, now with those second year, first year breeders, second year of their life, first year you're breeding them, male breeders, it's a completely different philosophy. Those animals, you gotta feed them. And you gotta feed them weekly, and you wanna get them not as big as possible, but you want to get them to a good size, because we have to keep in mind, again, is at some point in the breeding season, they may go off feed. And at that point, you want them to have enough fat storage to carry them through the rest of the season. And again, you're always concerned with the health of your animal post breeding season. So let's have a look at a couple of males that I have ready for this year. Alright, so here are a couple animals that I have, a couple males that I have hopefully ready for this upcoming breeding season. So obviously Ultramel and Lemon Pastel Desert Ghost. Now if you see both of them have really good size, and they're eating really well. And I am feeding these guys. I am feeding these guys, and I want them to have as much size and as much fat storage as I can get on them. Only because this is going to be their first breeding season. One other note that I should make is, with your larger males, once you start pairing them and start breeding them, you should then start feeding them weekly. When the breeding season starts and these animals are exerting the extra energy, if they'll take a meal weekly, then give it to them. Once the season is over, you can judge accordingly based on the size of the animal and how the animal is doing, if you want to feed weekly or bi-weekly. Alright guys, so I think that's it in terms of what you need to consider pre-breeding season in terms of your males. The next video coming up is going to be the visual cues that I look for when I'm deciding when to pair, because I'm seeing some of those cues with the collection, and the first pairing of the season is going to be coming soon. So if you enjoyed this video, once again, it's a call to action asking you to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned till the next video.
Take care.